Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 176. I am Annie, also known as Annie Fuchsia. I stream full time on Twitch, playing World of Warcraft most of the time, and I am your weekly host for the Wowhead Weekly show. As usual, my co host will be the lovely Perculia.
Hey everyone! I am the site producer for Wowhead. I oversee all the production of the news and the guides and the features on the site like the flying tool. And it's always really fun to do this show every week and share, what's been up, what's popular on the site, what are some new guides we have going on. I just answer some general questions with you all as my cat does funny things in the background. So, yeah, we have a giveaway for Twitch chat. It is Captain Crackers, the really cute parrot that sits on your shoulder. It's a friend of Pepe. And to enter, type the word in squawk. Squawk.
I was just going to say, how do you even spell that?
Yep.
That's a hard word to spell. All right, but yeah, you guys got it. Sass is writing it too, so if you have problem spelling it, no worries. You'll just copy what Sass wrote. There it is. Yeah, and caps or no caps makes no difference. So whichever you prefer. If you prefer to shout, you can type it in caps. If you prefer to not shout, you can just write it in regular case. Don't give me these hard words. Captain Crackers, apparently friend of Pepe. And I mean, if Perk says that, then that's definitely true. Perk knows everything about Pepe.
Yep. Pepe is
Best
friend to
buddies.
everyone, including Brightpaw. I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
bought another Pepe recently because I just wanted another Pepe.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Brightpaw doesn't attack this one as much. They actually
Oh,
just sort of
really?
cuddle together, so that's interesting.
Oh. Hmm. Maybe that fresh smell is like
Yeah,
good feeling for him. Like this one's
maybe.
clean. Doesn't need to be changed in any way. When they get a bit dirtier, then he's like, okay, I have to fix this thing. And then he
Right.
starts scratching it.
Yeah, and then the little
Maybe.
puppies are like, I'm upset.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
um, but yeah, first we have the PTR as usual, but we have some interesting live news and specifically like Blizzard and BlizzCon news.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh,
Yeah, let's start off with the Blizzard news. This was pretty big news to everybody.
yeah.
We have gotten news directly from Blizzard about a new president of Blizzard.
Right. So Mike Morhaime is stepping down. He will continue to be a strategic advisor. He's been at Blizzard for 27 years.
It's
And
crazy when I read that number
yeah,
because I knew that he'd been there forever, but I
right.
didn't realize how long forever is. 27 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
And
Mm-hmm.
his successor is J. Allen Brack, who is the executive producer, well, was, I guess, the executive producer on World of Warcraft. And in addition, two members are joining the executive team, Ray Gresco and Alan Adham.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of changes. Well, I mean, it's hard to say that there will be changes on the game side in store. I know I've seen some messages from like Variety News today that the payment and bonus structure is changing. So I don't know if the changes in management are more on the corporate side. But it's just it's a big deal. Like Mike always says, the BlizzCon
Yeah,
opening
exactly.
ceremony and the timing of this, like right before BlizzCon, is very just yeah. I mean, a lot of people are, and everyone's so sad because they're all looking forward to seeing him and his
Mm-hmm.
speech and, just his like really calm attitude and how he's always like the positivity in the community and no trolls.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe he was considering to announce it at BlizzCon, but it felt like too big of
Yeah.
news to just come like that. So he preferred to kind of warn people beforehand so that if there's any questions or anything, those can be addressed at BlizzCon. Maybe that was the way of thinking. I'm not sure actually. Did
Yeah, it does make more sense why J. Allen Brack was doing this joint WoW announcement with Eon for BlizzCon.
mm-hmm.
How like both of them were sort of talking about Classic and Live, and I was sort of confused before because I'm like, why is Ian like running Classic WoW and like Jay Allen Brack is like the
Oh,
executive producer, like why haven't we seen him before on many things, but now it maybe makes more sense why
yeah.
he's like being more visible now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You guys may actually remember J. Allen Brack as the meme that kind of broke
Yeah,
out
yeah. Yep.
with you think you do, but you don't. And a lot of people started panicking, like, oh no, this means Classic will be reversed. No, guys, no panic. Things are still going on. Just because he said that does not mean he was the only person at Blizzard who did not think Classic would become a thing. And, everything has been announced. Classic will still happen. And, he might be one of the main people who's going to be leading it. Like, who knows? It doesn't mean that now Classic is not happening. Don't worry too
Yeah.
much. Don't
I
fall
mean,
for the jokes and memes.
also to play devil's advocate, if he's the president of Blizzard Entertainment, he's not going to be focusing on WoW. So if you're like, oh
That's
man,
true as
I
well.
said this thing and I don't like what he said about WoW, it's like, well, great. Like now he's not focusing on WoW. Like it's sort
That's
of,
a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
like I wonder who will take his role. I don't think they've announced that yet because if he's not WoW's, if he's doing something else and he's not WoW's executive director, someone else then needs to take that role. So
There was another name. I think it was Alan Adam.
yeah,
If I'm saying the name right. He was also one of the people who worked, one of the founders, wasn't he?
yeah, he was Blizzard's original founder and the lead designer of World of Warcraft, and he will join the executive team and also continue working on several new games.
And
And
he did a lot of work for World of Warcraft when it just came out, right? When it was
yeah, as
still
the lead
vanilla.
designer.
Yeah.
Right.
And
then
that's pretty exciting news. Like, on the other hand, for Classic, what would you call it? For people who are looking forward to Classic a lot.
right, classic aficionados, I guess. And the other person who joined the team was Ray Gresco, who was at Blizzard for 10 years and helped create Overwatch and Diablo 3, and he's now in the role of Chief Development Officer. So, yeah, executive changes. This is something people have pointed out. I'm not really a business person, but people are saying maybe since this was first released on Business Wire, which is like a source for like obviously business, but like stakeholders and stocks, maybe this was made on Business Wire even before the forums. So maybe they were obligated to announce a change of leadership in a certain time period for people like stakeholders and people that are in charge of stocks, even though to the fans it seems a little weird timing for us.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. So the timing wasn't really planned for us, but rather something that they had to stick with.
Right. It's like, oh, quarter four is here. You got to announce your executive changes.
Right.
So,
New month,
so
new
much
quarter.
into the quarter. Right. So I think that could have been it. So, but yeah. I mean, I hope they do some tribute to Mike Morhaime at BlizzCon. Like the opening ceremony will just be different without him.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll do like one last. Maybe he'll like make a cameo. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Wait, was it not mentioned that he will do something at BlizzCon?
No, he wasn't there at. He's not mentioned at all. It just said that he was, kind of retiring and just being like a strategic advisor. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like going to the office full-time job type thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was definitely unexpected news.
Oh yeah, definitely. And especially like you said with the timing and everything, like people are not thinking about changes when it's so close to time for BlizzCon. Like people are just planning to get there to hear of more news, more exciting news of what is happening with our games. So this was definitely very surprising, especially for somebody who's worked there for so long. I saw a lot of heartfelt messages on my feed from people.
Yeah, I'm sure. I hope they do something like, I don't know, like a poster wall and you can leave nice messages to him or
that would be
some
really
sort
cool.
of tribute area. That would be nice at BlizzCon. Like a proper send-off, because it felt a little like rushed and sad how I'm, checking just the news alerts and it's like Business Wire is reporting that Mike Morhaime is stepping down and like, where's the blue post? No, it felt kind of like disorganized and like kind of like clinical at first. So I don't know, like a proper community like celebration and send off would be good.
Yeah, 27 years. Somebody comments like, why not wait till 30 to make it a clean number? Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. I don't know if we'll ever know like the full story behind it. Maybe maybe Mike Morhaime is just wanting to not retire, but have a little less things on his plate for other reasons. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, not to speculate, but I remember people didn't know why, Metzen retired, and then he
He
revealed
switched,
that
right? Yeah.
he totally retired, and he revealed like a really long time after that that he had a lot of anxiety issues
Mm,
and it was affecting his health. And yeah, I'm not speculating, but you never know if someone just wants to spend more time with their family, or like
yeah.
maybe there wasn't a work-life balance,
Yep.
or
Because
just
these roles
um
take a lot of your
yeah,
time. Like
exactly.
it's not just a job, it's like a lifestyle. Like so many people are depending on you. You have to do so much.
Yeah.
So it's not too
And like the
shocking that at some
products are
point you
like,
want to stop.
and it's not just a product, it's like these are the things that you personally have created and overseen.
Yeah, because
So
he
that
saw
like
it from
the games
nothing.
are like children, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's grown so much.
yeah.
So
So it
yeah,
must have been a really difficult decision for him as well. And like, who knows? Maybe this is something that he's been considering for life reasons for
right.
years, but then decided finally now it's time.
Like maybe it's a good time, like all the games are out, the virtual tickets out, the classic demos out, like BFA
Mm-hmm.
launch is done,
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch is stable, like the, Overwatch World Cup series just finished. Like maybe this seemed to be a good transition time.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah. Speaking
but
of
yeah,
BlizzCon, we also have some news for you guys regarding BlizzCon. The official schedule. I'm not sure if it's got any more changes that would be upcoming, but the schedule is now out and you can check it out yourself. I've got some pictures here to give you guys a sneak peek of what it looks like
yeah.
here. So, this is the schedule for both the Friday and the Saturday.
Yeah. So, of a particular note, Diablo has two panels, and the first panel is really interesting because it's the first panel after the opening ceremony, and usually the first panel on the main stage after the opening ceremony is like the most hype thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when they usually were like Battle for Azeroth or like Overwatch, like that's always a big panel time. So a lot of people are hyped up and thinking that something will come there. Also, I was really happy to learn that the Blizzard Gear Shop will get its own panel previewing 2019 merchandise because, we love Pepe, we love all the clothing. They always do really fun stuff. So I'm happy they get their own little panel.
Oh,
Uh,
apparently the Friday is bottom, Saturday is on top. My bad.
oh,
Let me quickly
GG.
switch them. No problem. We'll fix this live. This is a live
Yep,
show, right? All right.
yep,
There we go. Friday and Saturday. No confusion.
yep. So, yeah, so all of you guys probably care most about the Warcraft panels. There is stuff on voice actors, cinematics, what's next, obviously, the sounds of Drustvar. There's one on level creation, which I think was a user voted panel, and then of course the Q&A. And then there was also a classic WoW panel on Saturday at what did it do that? Restoring History, Creating WoW at 3:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, WoW Esports has the arena finals, but also really exciting, they have the MDI All Stars, which is when you see the top four teams from the MDI do all these dungeons with like really wacky abilities. And I'm curious to see how that will go and how the viewership will line up compared to other events because the MDI did really well on Twitch
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to,
Mm-hmm.
other stuff in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all we know so far. I don't think we have a floor plan yet. After I made the notes, we got a very small sneak peek at BlizzCon merchandise. Not a ton of WoW stuff, but still cool to see like there was like an Anduin and Sylvanas hoodie. The pictures were like teeny, so I can't really make out any details. But yeah, it's like surprise Anduin and Sylvanas merch, and apparently some statue of Greymane and Sourfang. So that's what we got with BlizzCon. Like I said, no floor plan. You can always kind of hint at what's big based on the floor plan. Like if something has a huge demo area, then you're like, gee, you know.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they introduce new statues, like the floor plan. Not was it last year? Well, the floor plan at some point had a Sylvana statue, and it wasn't on the shop yet. And the
Mm-hmm.
Sylvanas statue was by the WoW demo area. So it's like, oh, I bet Sylvanas will have an important role in all this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then it's like, oh, look, and yes, she did. And she was then also on sale at the Blizzard Gear Shop. So we can get more hints about what might be in these panels when the floor plan comes out.
Yeah, sneaky ways of finding out what's going on.
Yep.
I think your microphone went down a little bit, but I think it's fine. Nobody said anything, so I think it was barely noticeable. It wasn't the usual where you go really low, it just
Right.
changed tone slightly. But it seems fine. So we can continue as usual.
Yeah. So the next topic, Blizzard announced some Azerite armor improvements. This is kind of like live news and PTR news, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
announced,
Well
yeah,
needed stuff.
yeah, things that are coming soon and things that are coming in the Tides of Vengeance patch.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is coming soon is the Azerite armor will be available from more sources, such as emissary rewards, and they will scale up to eye level 370.
Yeah, I was a little bit unsure about this one. So it's up to
Yeah.
370 before 8.1, right? As a
Yep.
hotfix at some point, and then after 8.1, that's when it goes beyond that, right?
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
got you. I'm looking forward to that because at the moment it's not very fun to only be able to get a 370 plus through raiding heroics, which you can only do once a week, or being lucky in your mythic plus chest. So that's good news. I know a lot of people who are still running around with their 340s, and it's
Right.
interesting because they mentioned that in this post as well, that it's
Hmm.
a bit of a flaw in the system that so many
Right.
people are still running around with the 340s even if they're 360 or 370 item level. Their some of their pieces, maybe one or even two, are still only 340, and that feels like a mistake in a way.
Right. Then what's coming in the patch is the first thing is in season 2, which is when the Zuldazar raid comes out.
Hmm.
Another ring will be added to all Azerite
Yeah, that's
armor.
interesting. Is that new? Like,
Yeah.
is that new news? Like, it's never been
Yeah.
mentioned before? Okay.
No, so we in the data mining that took place right before, we
Mm-hmm.
noticed that one of the traits was classified as like ring 5, and we're like, that's odd.
Okay.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so then it was kind of hinting at that, and then they made this post.
That's
Uh,
interesting because that gives
yeah,
a lot more options with the Azerites.
right. Now, of course, there might be, you don't know if there would be like very weird interactions or it'd be too much. Like, for example, there's an assassination rogue trait, and by itself, it's not great. But if you have 3 of them, it's really OP for raiding Uldir.
Okay.
So you don't know if you'll have more balancing issues. If now it's like, well, this one trait by itself is amp, but like if you can stack 6 of the same trait, then it's like
Yeah.
the most OP thing ever. Or like, oh, if you have like 3 of these Azerite traits interact with 2 of these other types, then it's like really OP
Yeah,
legendary
yeah,
combos.
yeah. Like
I
if you
feel like we
combine
might,
them. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I feel like there might be all these like very weird interactions that they
Yeah.
really need to test for. So like pre-made 120s, have this Azerite stuff on a vendor to test out, or otherwise you're going to be having some really strange balancing, I think.
So this ring 5, are they going to be specifically a new set of traits?
No, it just will be the same traits, just another chance.
Oh, so it's like a random chance of any trait?
We
Or we
don't. I
don't know
mean,
exactly.
it'll probably be like the preset ones,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't exactly know how it's going to work. But it's not. It'll just be like another pool of the spec specific traits.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Cool.
So I think. I mean, I think that it could go well, but if it's not tested, you're gonna have someone be like, oh well, like my DPS is way lower because like I didn't get this perfect piece of Azerite,
Yeah.
and like this is like God mode combo. So
Reminds me a little bit of the relics that we had in the weapons, in
yeah,
the Azrai weapons, because the relics, because of RNG, where it could be hard to get the relics that you needed, they gave you a secondary trait, I guess you could call it, which was randomized upon putting it in,
right.
upon equipping it. Maybe it's going to be something like that, where if you get a bad trait, then you have a chance to at least have ring 5, which gives you a decent trait, and then your piece is
Yeah.
suddenly not as bad. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, this is not visible really yet on the
Mm-hmm.
PTR.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think what are they gonna say? So they're saying that your favorite traits will be available on a lot more items, And then this has more options across the scope of all your Azerite pieces, and we hope this creates more interesting decisions. So, interesting can be good. Interesting could also mean bad. But
Yeah.
just hopefully it's all tested. They
Yeah.
also said that there will be more traits coming, and they're working on the individual traits themselves. And they want the spec specific options to win out in like interesting environments, while the generic traits are good if you want to do like 10 different things with one piece of Azerite.
Mm-hmm. I'm not
Um,
sure if they
and
touched on the topic, but the cost of changing, of reforging, I think should
no,
also be changed, because I know some
yeah,
people who've spent so much. Like I had somebody who tell me yesterday, I think it was, that he spent close to 100K just switching specs all the time. And if it should be interesting to swap things around sometimes, I think they should make it either just a constant cost, um, or change it
right.
to like a kind of consumable of some sort, like the tomes that we have for talents, maybe something like that.
Right, because when I read, we want the spec specific options to win out in their respective environments. And
Yeah.
then, I see we hope to create interesting decisions. To me, that reads, oh, well, if you don't have a lot of Azerite, you're going to want to have the spec specific options. You're going to like, you want specific things if you're doing rating versus Mythic Plus. And it's like, well, that's more reforging if you don't have lots of Azerite.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Cuz
like I said, they really need to have people
mhm.
testing this on the PTR, or else like they're not going to get a sense if
Mhm.
the drop rate has been increased enough, or if these traits are interesting, or if there are weird interactions. Like you need a critical mass of players, or else this stuff won't be
Mhm.
noticed.
I see a comment of they don't want us to reforge our traits all the time, hence the cost. Completely agree. And I think
Right.
there should be a cost, but I think from the way I understand it is that it keeps increasing every time you change it. And I think maybe that's a bit too harsh, because then it ends up being really expensive, and maybe it should be considered to have like a constant cost instead.
Right.
It
Now
doubles the
maybe
amount, and there's no limit, there's no upper limit.
Right. Now, maybe this would be less of an issue if people had more Azerite pieces, so they could just have one with like their raid traits, and then another Azerite set for their just like whatever,
Mm-hmm.
gear, and then one for their PvP gear. But right now there's a shortage of Azerite armor. So,
Yeah.
that's why everyone is like, okay, I gotta keep
Mm-hmm.
reforging my 340 piece.
But should
Uh,
you need to have multiple pieces? Isn't it better to change the one that you have?
well, if you have multiple pieces, then it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think if you just had multiple pieces and you maybe just use them for different like gear sets, that could be okay.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, maybe Blizzard would prefer that as well, because you want to keep chasing Azerite armor from different sources, as opposed to being like, okay, I have this one piece and I'll just keep reforging it and I'll never want to farm Azerite ever again. But
But
yeah, the
then you need to
Azerite
be
armor,
given ways to farm Azerite
right.
armor as
So
well.
that's why they're like emissary rewards, which I'm not sure if that's enough, but
Yeah, I don't think that's enough. I think it's a good change, but I don't think it's enough.
yeah, like everyone is talking about Mythic Plus, and I think that probably it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So
I think there needs to be a solution for Mythic Plus users.
yeah, it would also be, I mean, I've said this before, but I liked how with artifacts, even if you didn't care about progression, you got into the story of the artifacts with all the quests and then the appearances to collect and the fun things to do with it. And like there's no real fun visual like quest or collection component to Azerite.
No, it's true
Uh,
actually.
and I feel like with artifacts, it drew more people in and made the system feel accessible, or I don't know. I
Hmm.
prefer how the artifact system was, and how there was the lore behind it, and then there were the achievements, and then there were the appearances, and it took you to lots of raids, like you had to do Suramar, for balance
Mm-hmm.
of power. And I think that would make the system feel more immersed in the world, and not just like, oh, this is the thing for the raiders to do when they need to like find something to
Yeah.
spend their time on.
Hmm.
Yeah, I miss having. I liked how transmog was kind of part of
Yeah,
the artifact progression.
maybe. I mean, the Azerite pieces are the most important parts for a transmog, if you think about it. Head, shoulders, and chest. They could have
Yeah.
easily had a similar system where those transmogs are very unique and
Hmm.
stand out a lot, and, give ways to find more tints of it. Like something similar to before, I think could have worked out.
Yeah, or as you level up the Azurite, you get more little page fragments or whatever, similar to how when you leveled up the artifact, you read more pages of those books, and then you learn more, and then you went out and got your hidden appearance based on
Hmm.
hints in the lore. So I think that stuff is interesting, and it's
Hmm.
missing currently. And
I think that they could
obviously,
have made them really cool, actually. You remember the challenge mode set
mhm,
um, in Mists of
miss.
Pandaria?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
those look really unique. And if they had made these Azurite armors into sets, not in terms of stats, not sets like that, like you have to have the complete set, but in terms of transmog, I think that could have been really cool.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, oh, if you add a lore book talking about Azurite, then suddenly the traits are fine. I'm just saying, like, another criticism or issue is that I think that this
They don't feel
interesting
as
progression,
fun.
yeah, I think it's just missing. And
Hmm.
sometimes you want to just do something fun in WoW that's not like I have to grind this to boost my character. Sometimes you want like a little fun quest line in the middle of nowhere, or just,
Hmm.
do something that has an end goal that's not RNG, like,
Hmm.
farming an appearance.
Hmm. Or maybe even, let's say you get an Azurite piece that's like 370, then you do this special quest line, which uh, alters its appearance and maybe adds a 5 item level or something, just to make you feel like some kind of progression, some kind of visual which looks cool, so it feels
Yeah.
fun. I think, yeah, I think there could have
No,
definitely
Bright
been
Paw.
something more.
He
Because
just
at the
not.
moment, like you said, Azurite armor is kind of boring. Like, apart from the traits, which you by now probably have just looked up to see which traits are the best for you, it's kind of boring. You don't feel as attached to them as you did with your weapons.
Right, and if it's meant to be something creepy like, oh, like, are the old gods into Azurite, or hey, like, this seems volatile, it would be good if that was emphasized. I mean, I guess you don't want to give the story away, but it would be good if there was like, Azurite's evil, or like, let's hear about the history of Azurite, or let's have weird messages from Azeroth just talking about not feeling good. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like stuff could be added.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and hopefully we will. I feel like they're not going to talk about Azurite at BlizzCon because that's like your average person playing, Blizzard games that's like maybe coming over from Overwatch is not going to care about Azurite, but hopefully we keep getting blue posts on this stuff.
Yeah. I think they know it needs fixing.
Yeah.
Maybe no one knows exactly how it needs to be fixing, but they
Yeah.
did touch on the fact that there is a lack of availability.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, exactly. Improvements needed or an issue in overall availability. So, definitely
Yeah.
something coming up. And yeah, some of these changes will happen as hotfix. Could happen whenever. Could happen next week. Could happen the week after. And then the further adjustments will happen with 8.1.
Yeah. So we're now moving into PTR news. There wasn't a ton of like actual live game news, but a lot of PTR stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just one more thing on Azurite. So
Mm-hmm.
the PTR is still kind of buggy, so you can't really test any of these things. But yeah, so a lot of this is just like data mining or hopping, like what we're seeing as we play the game in 5-minute bursts. So the next thing with the PTR is something you probably will like. You can now solo queue for Legion LFR wings.
Mm-hmm. I was actually
So
surprised it wasn't in the game already. I
I
remember
know,
asking people on a
yeah,
Tuesday night for EU. Tuesday night is day before reset, and
right.
we were thinking like, okay, well, it's Tuesday night. I've done all my weekly stuff. Why don't we go back to Legion and farm some old transmog? Let's go for LFR. And then it's not there. And we were like, okay, there's no NPC for
Yeah.
us to queue from. But now, apparently, we are getting the NPC in patch 8.1. I guess the thinking behind it was that people wouldn't really want to be doing Legion content so early in the expansion, which probably is true for most people. It's only transmog nerds like myself who even considered going back there. But yeah, so if you were ever interested in farming some transmog, you can do that now in 8.1.
Yeah. So if you're like, why I hate LFR, why do I want to care about LFR? There are some transmogs, some tints only available from LFR. Some Legion quests like professions and class mounts might take you to LFR, and there are also rare drops. Not all of them are from LFR, but things like the Abyss Swarm
Mm-hmm.
and the Golden Hearthstone card can drop from LFR.
Mm-hmm. Abyss worm. I am still scarred by that. It took me so long to get it. And I
Yeah.
still don't have the Antoran Charhound. And people always make fun
Oh.
of me for that. Yeah, it's already mentioned in the chat. I need to go back into LFR for Antoran Charhound.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. You have another way of farming them in 8.1.
Mm-hmm. The green Gul'dan mount. I believe the green Gul'dan
I think
mount.
that's normal heroic.
I
We
think it's
debated
normal
that.
and up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it's
'Cause
normal and up.
yeah, I was all like, "Oh, like put this in the post," and they're like, "Oh no, actually it's not." So we had a discussion about including that in this news
Mm-hmm.
post.
And apparently, I don't know if this is 100% confirmed, but I heard that Gul'dan actually has not dropped the green mount since
Uh,
BFA launch. So people are wondering if there is any or no confirmed drops. Obviously, it might have dropped for somebody, but people don't know. But no one has confirmed it in the community, which is worrying for people because it makes people think that maybe there's an issue with personal loot where you would need at least maybe 10 people for the mount to even drop in the first place. Or
right.
for the drop rate to be, I guess, obtainable.
Right.
Not something like ridiculously
Yeah.
low. Because in the past, if you guys remember, even with things like Mythic Gul'dan, even the Mythic mount would not drop 100% if you did not have a full raid. So you needed 20 people who are not saved to be guaranteed a mount.
Mhm.
So maybe similarly now, the chance to get the green mount is even lower or maybe even impossible to get if you're below 10 people. There's some speculations around that. I don't know if this is all 100% confirmed, but just a heads up in case you are somebody who is farming the green mount.
Yep. Our next topic, not the most analytical topic, but really a crowd pleaser. There are some spell visual updates, and everyone loves those.
Mm-hmm.
So, first up, we have some Draenei Shaman totems to show you.
Mm-hmm. We've got this is the before. This is the totems with the 3 pixels.
Yep.
And this is the after. And that was my phone that should not be making any noises. There we go. It's been silenced. But yeah, great news for shamans. Your totems have now been updated to be more on par with, all the other visuals in the game so
Yeah.
far. Changes.
And, yep.
Yes, changes.
And then Paladins have a lot of love. We've actually had 2 PTR builds since the last show, so they were split across a few articles. But yeah, they're very sparkly. Some of these were teased in the BFA beta, but it was not ready. It wasn't working on all races, so they scrapped it, and now they are, up for testing on the PTR.
Mm-hmm. There's quite a few of them. I've got them all here to show you guys. But yeah, if you're a Paladin, you'll be very happy to see that there's multiple changes.
Yeah.
None of the changes include movement. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I should. Well, yeah. It'll be funny. Yeah.
But let's show you guys some of them. Here is the first one. Flash of light. Hopefully that's not too loud. Yeah, I personally feel like the flash of light is very... a lot. I don't know. I can't decide if I like it or not. It feels weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a flash of light. It feels like I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Something.
Bright Paw. I'm like trying to replay it, and he's all like, I like flash of light. I'll just cover the screen.
Yeah, it's a shower of light.
Yeah, exactly. I like when it feels like it's coming from your hands and it's rising up, not that I don't know. If it was meant to be from above, it's almost like a sunbeam, I guess. Like you need a little sun to come out and shine down.
Yeah. It's a shower. It's a beam. It's a lot of things. It's not a flash of light. But
I also feel like the gold is a little too golden, and I expect it to be more like yellow, like the old color
even
of the
a hint of white, kind of. But yeah, it is definitely more golden as well. Yeah. I'll show the video one more time. There it is. Yeah, now that I look at it more, it does look like it looks like a shower.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, it is sparkling and gold, which is what paladins are.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not too bad. For the next one, we've got Beacon of Light, which is a lot more subtle. Yeah. I like it. I think it's very subtle. I don't know if it's gonna continue showing the person on being in flames for the rest of the fight, but
right, that would be awkward.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, it's
please
loud.
don't beacon me. Please don't beacon me so I can actually see my character.
Yeah, sorry about the sound. I turned it down now. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Cool. It looks cool. The next video, let's see. The next video we have is The Light of Dawn.
Yeah. So, it looks more, again, it's like that shower. It's not the weird, like, oh, we have these different pixelated rays. It's that golden shower.
I feel like it does give a better, what's the word? It does give a better sense of where it affects your targets. Because something I didn't like about the old one is that it felt very much like it tells me nothing about my range. Especially as somebody who doesn't play Paladin that much, I felt like there's something missing about the visual for me to understand where I'm healing. So I feel like this one gives a better sense of that. But yeah, it does look very gold as well, maybe a bit too gold. But it's an improvement in terms of knowing where you're healing.
Yeah.
And I think we have one more. Let's take a look.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah. This one was shocking. Here. Bam!
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. They're changing the classic wings look to this. It's actually crazy. Like, this is impossible to miss. The wings are huge. You are golden. It's not just the wings. Everything is just boom.
I know, now you need to have the transmog to match it as well. Like, if you have some like weird bronze transmog and then you're using that in your gold, like you'll just clash and you won't look good.
Do you think transmog would make a big difference? I feel like that gold covers your transmog so much.
Right, but then, well, when it first starts, like when at the start it's just the wings and then you turn golden, and also the silhouette. Like, you don't want to have shoulders that are ugly and I don't know, like do weird stuff with the wings. There were those really pretty priest shoulders from Mr. Pandaria, the PvP ones that have the wings, and I know it's Paladin, but it would be awesome if you could have shoulders that are wings and you pair that with those wings. That would look cool.
Like double wings?
Yeah, like 4 wings.
I think somebody mentioned it. Apparently the wings are a little bit tilted.
Oh.
I think tilted backwards. Let's see. Like in
maybe
this
they'll
angle.
be fixed.
Maybe it makes more sense when the Paladin is in movement.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paladin updates. I remember when we had loads and loads of Warlock updates, and I was very happy.
Like, oh yeah, I love those.
It's like even with the specs I don't play, that's cool. It's still my class. But now we got the visuals for Paladins as well. But yeah, no movement updates. Still wheelchair.
Okay, so that was funny because on Friday's build, the day after last Wowhead Weekly, they actually by accident changed one of the abilities to last for 8 seconds instead of 3. So you could like go on and then it could double proc, so you could be like riding around for 16 seconds.
Yeah,
and like that was not bad data mining. Like, you were on the PTR doing that, and then Blizzard hotfixed fun a day later. So now it's down to 3 seconds.
Paladins were no longer wheelchair for exactly 1 day.
Exactly.
1 day. But yeah, you guys are still wheelchairs. Yeah. Gonna have to live with that, but it's okay. I mean, if warlocks don't use Burning Rush, we're pretty wheelchairy too. Like we can't move fast at all. Whenever there's any mechanics in raids where you need to move, you have to start planning your movements way ahead. It's not like a mage where you just blink, and if you happen to be too far, you blink twice. It's like warlocks are really, really slow. Warlocks are not melee though. That is a good point. So warlocks don't actually have to reach the target, but still.
So we have some heritage armor stuff to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
The first cool thing is that the Dwarf Heritage armor is now in the Wowhead dressing room, and we data mined. We saw a tint on Ian's little presentation, and then we data mined a tint, and it was different. And I think we discussed this last week, or I don't know. I forget when we find stuff, but basically the tint was slightly different than what Ian showed, and now it's in the dressing room, so you can see what it's like on your own characters.
Mm-hmm. I think this is supposed to be a slideshow, so it should show the female version too. Yep, there you go.
Yeah. An interesting thing is that we also played through the quest line, and the name of the armor that you get is the Bronzebeard armor, and we're almost wondering if it's going to be like the Maghar orcs, where we'll eventually get tints for the other races, because you know it's like the Bronzebeard family, then it's like we'll get like a Wildhammer tint or a Dark Iron tint, and will one of those tints be the color that Ian previewed to us, because this one's more golden, and then what Ian showed was more like silver and had some like darkness to it. So it would be cool if they had 3 colors similar to the 3 orc clans that are allied races.
That's actually a very good point. I think when they make these things, I think they do consider that. That's why they name it so specifically.
Yep.
So it's definitely possible, depending on whether they can fit it in at some point.
Yeah. We haven't been able to play this yet due to quest errors. We don't know what the armor looks like, but we know what the story is for the Blood Elf Heritage Armor quest. And it's going to take us, we're going to see Arthas' attack on Silvermoon. We're going to see King Anastarian. We're going to see Sylvanas when she was the Ranger General. Lady Liadrin when she was training as a priest. So we're going to see like all the Blood Elves as younger versions of themselves with different models and armor. And it will cover why this isn't a spoiler, this is like history from battles. We're going to cover why Kael'thas wanted to destroy the Sunwell because it was corrupted by Arthas and being used as a source of power for the Lich King and Kel'Thuzad, and it was like a corrupted version of the Elven culture. So we're going to revisit that really painful chapter and then understand why the Blood Elves came to be, because the Blood Elves, that was the name of the survivors of Arthas' attack. They, were no longer High Elves. They call themselves the Blood Elves.
Is any of this playable? No, right?
No, it just was like, it just was things like the data mine text and some sound files, and just I think we could do the first. Yeah, we could do the first quest, but not the rest of it.
Okay. Might be available soon.
Yeah. There's like so many bugs on the PTR. Like, that's what I said. Like, this testing was based on us logging in for 5 minutes and being like, oh, we looked around Dalaran, here's the LFR guy. But we couldn't really do a ton of stuff on the PTR. So, this next section is going to be pretty spoilery. So
now comes the real spoilers.
Yep.
More lore and other things that are happening in 8.1.
Yep.
Let's get the spoiler tag up. So when there's no longer spoilers, the logo will go away.
Yep.
So first thing here that we have are the some updated models of both Rusticana and Surfing. I'll show them.
Yep. So, this Spectral King Rusticana model is likely what he's going to turn into when we go to the Stage 2 Enter the Death Realm phase of the King Rusticana encounter in the Zuldazar raid.
Looks amazing, I have to say.
Yep. And he has the deal with Bwonsamdi, and now he seems to be infused by the power of, Bwonsamdi here.
So that would be the alliance attack, right? In the raid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This would be the
Do
alliance attack.
hordes do anything at the time of this as well, like from the horde point of view, or is that completely gone from their story?
The boss lists are not yet finalized. We think that currently the equivalent encounter for the Horde is fighting High King Mechatork. But we're sure that the Horde will have some reaction. Like there's text where they're reacting to what's going on. So we'll have to see. I mean, it would be very strange if the Horde could not get a moment about this.
Because I think at some point it felt like there was showing of a Horde wanting to kind of fight back.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see what the players can actually experience with this happening.
Yeah. The dialogue makes it seem like Anduin asked Rusticana to surrender, and he says no, and then that's why they fight, and then the Horde are sort of rallied by the death of Rusticana, and then they kind of push the Alliance back, and then that's when High Tinker Mechatork tries to hold off the Horde until Jaina and other allies can get there. We'll talk a little more about that later on as well in the spoilers, because this build added some models, but the Friday build added a lot of text. So, yeah. We can... actually, why don't we...
You can show the Saurfang models.
Yeah, why don't we show Saurfang, and then we'll talk about Saurfang escaping before goblins and gnomes, because I think that makes more sense.
Okay.
Otherwise.
Yeah, we can do that.
So, yeah. So, now we've got Saurfang. And he's got no shoulder, he's got no helm, he's really not got any armor, and at one point he has a hood, kind of a disguise. It's not a very effective disguise. We all know it's him.
It's like hiding in his hood.
Yep.
We see you.
And let's see.
So this whole thing with the shoulder armor being gone, because we saw that in the cinematic as well. Is that a symbol for something?
So he took his shoulder armor off at debating at Lordaeron to when he's like, oh, there's no honor, like I need to take my armor off and just sort of like walk into, death. I'm not sure if this is the situation here, because he doesn't really have
any armor. Yeah.
No. So I think it's because he's a prisoner in Stormwind. He doesn't have his armor on him.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not the same symbol. It's simply that he's been stripped off everything he has.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, players are joking in the comments, like, no honor, no pauldron,
because that's
having his shoulders.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, maybe there is a bit more to it. But yeah, I got you.
It's weird seeing hooded Saurfang because you don't have his traditional braids.
Yeah. Here it is again. I'm showing it again.
Yeah.
It almost looks cute how he's in his little hood.
Yeah.
He skipped armor day.
Yeah, he's like a Blizzard Gear shop. It's like, oh, like here's your Saurfang hoodie. Like it really looks kind of modern how he's dressed up.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, Perk, do you want to tell us with the updates and what's happening? Like the last we knew of Saurfang was that he was taken into prison, and then we didn't hear much else of what's going on. We had some hints in the past of some broadcast texts, but what do we know now?
So we know that he escapes from the Alliance prison, and Sylvanas sends the Horde to find him and either capture or kill him. So we try tracking him down, and then Zappy Boy intervenes.
Zappy Boy. I was so happy to read that.
Yep. And he tries to throw them off the scent, and then when they find Saurfang, he helps Saurfang defeat all the Horde that tried to capture him. And then Saurfang says that he still has to be on the run, and that Zappy Boy's like, I want to go with you. And so Saurfang says no. He's like, go back, lie to Sylvanas, say that you can't stand me, say that, the Horde fought bravely, that, I attacked you, and, stay in Orgrimmar as, like, a way to inspire the remaining, like, true members of the Horde when the time is right.
It also sounded like in the text that he was, he bruised him on purpose, right?
Yeah. So he bruised him on purpose, and then at one point Sylvanas was like, "Oh, like funny, they killed everyone else, but like you escaped with like
Yep.
not much."
Yeah, the quote is
So
actually funny because it was
yeah,
something very specific. Like he defeated my entire elite force and my very experienced Dark Ranger, but you just got a little bit of a scratch, and you made
yep,
it out alive.
yep. So that's
I
really
wonder if she
interesting,
suspects something.
right? Which is not gonna go well. Plus, everyone's like, "Oh, isn't this Siege of Orgrimmar again, where Sour Fang is like Vol'jin, and they're both on the outside, and they're gonna try to take over Orgrimmar?" And it's I mean, I don't think it is like Siege of Orgrimmar in that the
Mm,
story seems
mm-hmm.
darker now, so maybe things will fail along the way. And I feel like in Siege of Orgrimmar, it's like, oh, of course Vol'jin's gonna win, but now it's like, well, something bad will happen to Sour
Yeah,
Fang, Sappy Boy.
yeah,
Um, I think another reason why it's different from Siege of Orgrimmar is that there's like way more plots going on at the same time. Like
yeah,
we've got Darkshire going on, we've got Zuldazar going on, and
yeah. It's definitely not the only focus.
right, but and the arc does seem kind of similar right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Sylvanas is looking pretty evil, and especially in some later dialogue we're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
But on a more lighthearted note, we also got some goblins versus gnomes engineering trash talking.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and this is actually interesting because Mechatork is going to be a boss in Zuldazar. And it seems Gallywix and Mechatork are just trading insults leading up to the raid. Mechatork has some interesting plan to like scout around some treasury in Zuldazar to get intel for the Alliance. They keep insulting each other, really funny things.
Yep. Goblin
Gall-
versus gnome technology.
yeah, it's like, oh, like this gnome's so dumb, he insulted my machine as being cheap. I'll show him. And then it's like, ha ha ha, your machine ran out of azurite gas. And
Yep.
but Mechatork ends up being defeated by the Horde, but he doesn't die. He's like frozen in his special mech suit.
Oh
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
no one can bring him back to life. Well, but he's not dead. He's just sort of in stasis. So
Do we know
be-
anyone else who's been in the stasis?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, I guess you have like the, what was it, Magni being stone.
Oh yeah. Mm.
So there's some speculation that Junker Gnomes would be a cool race, and there's some kind of like mechanical doodads in the data files that like
Mm-hmm.
Junker placed in Tiergard. And people are thinking that wouldn't it be interesting if the gnomes got their own little allied race variant, and that was tied to, bringing Mechatork fully back.
Yeah. That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it says that he goes into deep freeze
Yeah.
when
And
he's
even
about
Jaina
to
can,
die. Yeah,
and even
Jaina.
Jaina can
Mm-hmm.
come back. Like it's like, oh, this is beyond my magic.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where that leads to.
yep. So another really interesting, surprising story is Zalatath.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is an interesting plot.
We talked a little bit about this before.
Yeah,
We knew that something that there's going to be something,
right. We
and
found
now
all the
there's a little
stones.
bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, with the artifact weapons all being sacrificed, Zalatath, the Blade of the Black Empire, had the power depleted in order to heal Azeroth. The dagger is not happy about this. We find the dagger locked away in a chest, and the dagger is angry and keeps talking to you. And for some reason, we decide to reawaken Zalatath and feed it the souls of the Naga and empower it, and it wants to help N'Zoth. And this all seems really bad, but we like keep helping the dagger.
Yeah.
Um, and she keeps sweet talking us like, oh, like you're my favorite. I'm so happy to kill with you. And keeps saying really scary, strange things.
Why do we keep
Uh,
helping her?
I don't know. And she even has funny priest lines being like, oh, like how glorious is to be renewed. I haven't forgotten your callous use of me in Silithus. I am glad we
Mm-hmm.
could spend time together again. You were always my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing ends with another old god awakened. This does not bode well. Our world is already suffering. The wound enstilleth this the war. So it seems like we strengthen Xalatath, and then Xalatath leaves the dagger and goes off to be something bad.
Yeah.
And we've data mined a model where Xalatath looks like a void elf.
Oh.
So
I didn't see that part.
I can grab a link quickly or right pawn no. But yeah, it's just like it's not really anything special. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like when we data mine the NPC called Xalatath, when we click
Mm-hmm.
on it, it doesn't look like a dagger. It's like a lady with, purple hair
Mm-hmm.
in a priest robe.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, I mean, you're showing some of the really creepy dialogue on the screen, and this does not sound good. I do not know why we are helping her.
Yeah, it feels a bit like, should probably stay away from this. Also, I
Yeah.
wonder if this is from the speech sometimes mentioning the priests. Is this going to be a priest only quest line?
So I think this is for everyone, and it's probably
Yeah.
tied to the special raid quest building up to the raid. I just
Okay.
think that if you're a priest, you might get a few unique lines.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, like that line that was mentioning the
yeah,
priests
like they
specifically.
have they have an alternate line that's like, just recently I assisted another mortal hero. We defeated the
Yeah.
Legion and saved Azeroth. It's how I came to be so weakened when I called out to you. That priest proved short-sighted.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like she's just like, please help me, you're so nice. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, I'm done. Like, I got what I wanted, and
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Here
But
you can
yeah,
see some more of the lines
yeah, very manipulative.
that make you feel very weird. Keep me
Another,
close. I wouldn't want to lose you. I have always admired you, my champion.
I like the line where it's received now the greatest of all gifts. My dream has become your own. The circle of stars made flesh. The hour approaches when all eyes shall be opened. That
Yeah.
that does not sound good.
No, it does not.
And especially with all like the motifs of the circle of stars in Ashara, and the
Mm-hmm.
hour of twilight that N'Zoth tried to do, and all eyes being opened, and the motif of the eyes as well when Ashara sees herself reflected in all those eyes. So this doesn't seem good. This seems like Xalatath is maybe acting on behalf of N'Zoth,
Yep.
and maybe we'll even fight Xalatath in the future, or she'll continue to manipulate us
Mm-hmm.
because she's done such a good job so far.
Yep. I mean, we don't even know why we are helping her. Like it's not clear at all in the text. But
No,
yeah, I guess we'll see. We're probably manipulated.
yep. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it's very charming, and they're
Yeah,
saying
it
that like
is.
N'Zoth was very good at deception and
Mm-hmm.
charming and deals. So maybe we're like, oh, like Xalatath will give us power, and like we can subdue her if she acts out. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's not what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about Darkshore, and we had some hints last week about what was going on, and we learned a lot more. Specifically, we learned what happens to Tyrande when she becomes the Night Warrior,
Oh.
and
Mm-hmm.
some retaliation she might get on Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, Anduin seems kind of not cool. He's like, "Oh, Tyrande, we can't give any forces to Darkshore," which is shitty because it's like, come on, Anduin, like that's sort of why they lost in the first place, and how come Sylvanas can commit forces? Like it's so anyway, she's not very happy,
Yeah.
and she decides to undergo this Night Warrior ritual because if the Alliance won't help her, she will single-handedly like take down the Horde.
Yep.
So she goes through this very dangerous ritual, and we learn what is going on. We learn that everyone else that has tried it beyond the first Night Warrior has been killed because they cannot survive the fury of Elune.
Yep.
And she is actually successful at this. But we learned some things along the way which are disturbing. We learned that Sierra Moonwarden is like captured by the Horde at some point, which is disturbing. But Turan pushes on. She completes the ritual. She finds that Nathanos is trying to raise other night elves, and she at some point we learn from Maiev after the fact that she like fought Nathanos, and he's only alive because he sacrificed one of Sylvanas' Valkyr, which is not good news for the Horde.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't
So
realize it was one of her Valkyrs.
yeah, it's a Blightcaller yet lives, but at the cost of one of his queen's Valkyr.
Oh, okay. Isn't
So
this going to make Sylvanas angry?
yes, like that's sort of one of her, get out of jail free like life.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't catch that one. Wow.
And yeah, Tyrande is now angry. She's all like, "Oh, I've known these woods all my life. The Night Warrior's wrath must be sated." So
Mm-hmm.
she means business here.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this personality. She's all like, "I am no queen. I'm the Kaldorai's vengeance."
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's
I hope
very
we get to see
determined.
some of this in cutscenes.
I do too. So I would love to see that ritual
Like
take
proper
place.
VODs. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We also saw there's a spell that's called like Night Warrior Skybox, and Thanos has a line that's like, oh, like the sky looks really strange, and I would love to see the Night Warrior ritual in game, and if the sky
Mm-hmm.
is changed to reflect that.
Mm-hmm. Because that main scene with Tyrande and Malfurion, when Sarfang comes and
Oh, so bad.
it's such a bad scene. It wasn't even a cut scene. It was nothing. Maybe they wanted to save a little bit because they knew that there was going to be more later with Tyrande and Malfurion. I hope so. Because that
Uh,
was very little considering how important the characters are.
yeah. So on a sadder note, I mentioned that something happened to Syrah, and we talked last week that we thought something happened to Delarin, and it really seems like um, Sylvanas is getting Nathanos to raise the Night Elves, and when they're raised as
Yep.
the undead Night Elves, like she preys upon their despair, so they all think, oh, there's no hope for us, like we're forsaken, death to everything now. And
Mm-hmm.
Sierra Moonwarden, who was in charge of the Wardens when Maiev was, you know, off with Illidan and other stuff, she has been turned by the Horde, has a new model. There are lines like, how would you like to end up like your friend Sierra here, or perhaps Delarin just over there?
Mm,
So it's confirmed that they're both,
yeah.
which is sad.
Yep.
And, Sierra is all like, oh, Maiev, you abandoned me. There's no hope anymore. The forces of death are endless. Dark Rangers attack. And it seems that we're going to be fighting Sierra, maybe even as part of the war front. Maybe she'll be one of the commanders.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just seems very, yeah, it's very dark, and it's also the implications are really bad if this is how, if the night elves that are raised are sort of mind controlled or convinced that there's no more hope to be a night elf and all there is left is to just want death and annihilation.
Yeah.
But that's just so dark.
I feel like they're making everything to do with Sylvana's actions be
Yeah.
really bad again.
Yeah. There's no like middle ground.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, like we've broken these
because they're
soldiers.
dead already,
Right. But
but
yeah,
she
it's
doesn't
all
want them to
like,
have peace.
right. And like she's just is warping them, and it's like, death comes for us all, you old crone. The Dark Lady merely released me from a fate of decrepit ineptitude.
Hmm.
And it's just like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they're just really into death. Like the forces of death are endless. Uh, you know, forces of death you now serve. You burden me with everything in your absence. Um, has the Horde robbed you of all honor, Syrah? He will be brought to justice. Well, look what we have here. The Hunter has become something else entirely.
Yep.
It just, yeah, it just seems very dark, depressing.
I just moved this
Not
part
okay
as
stuff.
well. I feel
Yeah.
like this is very fitting to mention now
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
definitely. Yeah. So,
Um.
in in other news of things Sylvanas is doing,
Yeah.
it seems that she's not just raising the night elves, but we had a lot of dialogue on the Proudmoore family, and some of it's boring if we talk about it on the show, but you should check it out because it's all like family bonding with like Tandred and Jaina's mother, like apologizing for like not knowing about her traumatic history and how they should go to the library to chat and how she's so happy Jaina loves libraries. Like there's a lot of warm fuzzy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
Linked it in the
then,
chat in case you're interested in reading
yeah,
those.
yeah. But then,
But
uh,
then,
it seems after the siege of Zuldazar, the Alliance have clearly won, and Sylvanas wants to take revenge by taking the body of Derek Proudmoore and raising him.
yeah.
Which
And
is
Derek Proudmoore, in case you forgot who that is Jaina's brother. So she decides to raise him as an undead for, or as revenge.
right. And then she's like, "Oh, I'll, what was it?
And the other
Yeah.
people are very upset about that as well. Like Bane is completely against it.
Right. It was Derek will prove valuable in our war against the Kulturans, but we must be patient to see his true potential."
Yeah.
And, Derek is all like, "Please help me. I don't know what's happened, what's been done to me. I remember the battle, Orcus Dragon Riders. Our decks were consumed by flame. I felt a blaze of agony and then darkness. Please, how is this possible? Where is my father, my mother, Jaina,
Yep.
Tandred? I'm so alone." And Bane and them are just like, "This is wrong. There is no honor in it. Her deeds disgrace us all. We must set things right before the Horde loses everything that made us strong."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she's just crossing a lot of lines here.
Yeah. Even darker.
And yeah,
Even
so
more
I'll
dark things. Mm-hmm.
come to the Banshee's Wail. I have a plan to ensure the Proudmoore family pays dearly for Rasticon's death.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she doesn't care about, Rasticon. Like it's even weird when she's talking about Talanji after the fact. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, princess. Oops, I mean queen." Like she just sounds
Oh, yeah.
like, so I don't think she cares. I think she's just like, "Ooh, look, I have an excuse to like do something horrible. This is
Mm-hmm.
fun." And by tying it into something that Bane's upset about, the
Mm-hmm.
killing of Rastakhan, then it's like, "Oh, but if you're against me, this means that you're against revenge or the Horde." Like she ties it to a military
Mm-hmm.
action, so
Mm-hmm.
people look unpatriotic or disloyal if they disagree with it.
Yep. What do you think it requires for Bane to actually do something about everything?
Well, I feel like they didn't mention Thrall, but I feel like Thrall has to come back into all this. So we're gonna get like
Mm.
Bane, Sourfang, and Thrall. Maybe they'll all band together. And we also had that broadcast text where Vol'jin plays a role, and I'm sure he's not happy. So yeah, I feel like they're all going to come together and just,
Mm-hmm.
maybe hopefully get something done before it's too late, because it's like, oh, Sylvanas is raising everyone. I guess she could
Yeah.
raise us too. That maybe she wasn't just joking all those times where she talked about killing us.
So
This
maybe
could,
Jaina will have a little part in that too.
yeah. So I feel like when Jaina finds out, she's gonna be really upset by this,
Oh
because
yeah, about this
and then it
specific.
just turns
Yeah.
into her like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, the Horde are horrible. Look, they raised my brother." Like,
Yeah.
it's like Jaina doesn't really seem wrong here for not
Yep.
trusting the Horde.
Yep.
So then the final bit of broadcast text we have is on the actual raid. So just backtracking a little bit.
Yeah.
The
There's so
Alliance,
many things that kind of connect with each other, but it was
right,
still hard to know like which ones do we mention first. But yeah, now we're back to the raid again.
right. So the Alliance have a two-pronged attack. They go through Nazmir and they use the fog to their advantage, and then they also try to scope out the treasury with Magister Umbric using the power of the Void. And so they sort of do like intel inside as the Alliance are going through Nazmir. We went over the battle and how people fight.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting in the aftermath is that King Rastakhan won't surrender, and he kind of sounds like an ass. He's all like, "Oh, he's like, the Zandalari civilized this world. We conquered it, and once again, you savages seek to undermine our greatness. No, I will not surrender, because no matter what happens here today, Zandalar will stand long after your alliance has crumbled to dust." And it's like, maybe like that's, I don't know. He doesn't really sound sympathetic here. And
Yeah.
it's also like, oh, like, so that's not a great attitude to have if you need to work with like the orcs or the Tauren or other civilizations that aren't covered in gold. Um,
Exactly.
So he sounds kind of, yeah, he just sounds kind of bigoted and not cool there. And so that starts the encounter.
Mm-hmm.
uh Talanji, is grieving a lot, and apparently the Zandalari navy is in ruins, and she's worried that the Horde will abandon, the Zandalari. Uh, but the Horde's like, you are our allies, we will take you in, and that's probably why they're allied races.
Mm-hmm.
As mentioned, Rastakhan and Mekatork kind of out of the picture. Uh, Anduin is like, we won, but this is not good because we wanted to drive a wedge between the Horde and the Zandalari. And oh, look, we killed the king, and now the
Now it's the
Zandalari hate
opposite.
us, so that did
Yeah.
not work. I feel like Anduin is really bad at these surrender things because first he's like, I'll go to Sourfang, and Sourfang's like, I want to die, I don't want your prison. And then he's like,
Yeah.
I'll negotiate with Sylvanas, and Sylvanas is like, I will blow all of you up with Blight. And now he's like, I'll negotiate with Rastakhan. And then it's like, no, I would rather die.
Negotiating doesn't work, Anduin.
Yeah, so that's not really good.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's see. And then he's saying that again, most of the Zandalari fleet was destroyed, and then the Horde fleet's not on better footing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then the Alliance actually talk about like why they don't want to be like Sylvanas. Uh, and they're like, oh, we don't want to do something and like kill the civilians. We don't want to do something horrible. We're not like her. We still want to have a sense of honor.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Then Anduin talks about how it's good to have Jaina back, and Jaina's like, "Oh, I've heard rumors about my old friend Callia Menethil," and now Jaina will learn that Callia's like undead, but like light forged,
Yeah.
so that will be interesting. And let's see. And then as to the order of things, it was the Horde arrived too late to save King Rastakhan, while the Troll Princess grieved. It was the Blightcaller who rallied their forces. The Horde hoped to pin us between the pursuing champions and the forces holding the docks, but they didn't count on the High Tinker. He gave us help from the skies, while gnome forces aided us on the ground until Gallywix showed up. Then the Horde attacked with such fury, and yep, that's basically the order of things. So we rushed them, killed the king, then on
They
our way
push
back
back.
out, the Horde forces caught up to us,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mekatork stalled things, sacrificed, and then I believe we have the battle on the seas. There's a boss called the Sea Blockade, and then something with Jaina.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of makes sense. How the Alliance bosses, the Alliance fight is basically like, Rush Zuldazar, final boss is King Rastakhan.
Mm-hmm.
While the Horde fight is like, oh, we arrived late, and then their final three bosses
Like
are
it starts there instead.
right. So the Horde bosses are pushing their retreat, and it's like, oh, Sea Priest blockade. Like it's funny. They changed the name of Zuldazar, the zone, to the burning of Zuldazar, which doesn't make sense. But the Sea Priest blockade is like, oh, the Sea Priests are trying to have a tidal wave drown Zuldazar. So it's like, oh, it's the flooding of Zuldazar.
Oh.
But so my guess is that Alliance ends with Rastakhan, and then the Horde starts later on in the timeline, and then their final three bosses are Mekatork, and then after Mekatork, there's the Sea Priest, and then after the Sea Priest, they fight Jaina herself on the high seas.
I can't wait to see what happens there. I'm actually so excited. I think this is a really cool raid. The whole idea of alliance versus horde. When the idea of alliance versus horde was first introduced, it reminded of that fight in is it Trial of the Crusade?
Yeah, Tier 9, the faction champions.
Yeah, I was hoping for something like that where we have a sort of PvP like fight, especially now that they talked about how the AI for island expeditions, for example, have become really good at copying player movements, things like jumping for no reason. And I was hoping to see a fight like that in this raid. It doesn't seem like we're getting anything like that, but it's still cool. I think it's really cool having all these figures being the real bosses, and I want to see what happens.
Yeah, another cool thing is that even the earlier bosses, they're themed around the Alliance and Horde, so while they may not be unique, it will sort of be like Siege of Borealis, where they have different appearances and they have different themed abilities. So like you might fight a Dark Iron Paladin if you were the Horde, or you might fight a like, I don't know what the horde equivalent would be. Like you might fight like, I don't know, like an orc or something, and they would do the same things, but they just, have different flavor.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's about it with the broadcast text.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
The raid
see.
is not currently available in PTR. I
It will
don't
be
think we know
tested-
when.
It will
we
be
do?
tested on Monday, but
Okay.
just a few early bosses.
Okay, a few early bosses on Monday.
Yep, and let's see. Mrs. Alien Rope asks are you doing anything for BlizzCon, Annie? She is also asking if you're hosting anything, but I don't think people hosting are revealing anything yet. But I mean, I can confirm that Annie will be at BlizzCon. I don't know if she wants to talk about how long she's there, or I know she's doing stuff at the Wowhead party.
Yeah, for BlizzCon itself, I'll be there as a streamer most likely. Nothing has actually been confirmed yet. I'm hoping to be able to stream there like I did last year. I guess we'll see if it works out fine, but hopefully it will. And I do not think I'll be doing any kind of panels at BlizzCon itself, but I will be a part of the Wowhead party, which is the day before BlizzCon. And for that, I believe we will have some stage time, which might be some hosting or something. We'll see. You'll get more information on that later on. And we together, Perk and I actually will be on the table where we can also sign stuff for you guys who are there. So you'll definitely see us, but no other kind of hosting things confirmed as of yet, at least.
Yep, and no Brightpaw. He won't be at the signing.
Yeah, and I'm not bringing Luna either, and she's still sleeping here. Sleeping princess.
Brightpaw, come on, baby. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, baby.
Oh, I think I know him.
Yep, now you can see him.
Oh, the big baby.
Oh, his
camera's
leg
moving.
is... Oh, Brightpaw, why did you do that? He did that.
Aww,
He
that's
wrapped his paw around the wire and then...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, Brightpaw, why did you do that, baby?
Cats sleep like 25 hours per day.
Not
I think
Brightpaw.
that's just about accurate.
I
also see that somebody just subscribed. Honey197, thank you very much for that Prime sub.
Let's see. Starfleek is asking, when do you guys think we'll see 8.1 hit live? I don't think for a while. I think definitely after BlizzCon. And then 8.1 will be super staggered. So I don't think we're getting the raid when 8.1 starts. I think there'll be like war campaign for a month or two. And then we're going to have the raid, and then Crucible of Storms will be like way, way, way off in the future.
So the main raid... Oh, let me remove the spoiler tag.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, the raid will, I don't know, maybe December, you think?
Yeah. Oh, no, I think the raid might even be January. Like, I think we might get the patch in December.
Okay.
And there'll be like a month of war campaign leading up to...
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things that are actually happening lore-wise as well before that, so...
Yeah.
I think we have a giveaway winner.
Awesome.
Giveaway winner is Phil Screens, and I recognize this name. Must respond in 2 minutes. Phil Screens, if you are here, just a reminder that you entered the giveaway and you are the winner. Luna just turned around. You may have seen her head for like a second, but now she's laying down again. Do we have any more questions?
Just another from Miss Alien Rope. Well, there's one someone asked, but it's spoiler tags, so I think we should answer that next show in the spoiler section. But another number one is Mrs. Alien Rope. What do you want to see happen in 8.1 or BlizzCon? Any predictions? So I'd like to see some Old Gods hints at BlizzCon. And I think story-wise, I just want to see the Night Elf story continuing to, like, go in a proper direction, so it's not, like, important points out of game or Sylvanish, cartoonishly evil, like, defeating everyone, and everyone's like, oh, wow, she's badass. Like, I want the story just to be balanced or expressed well, standing alone well in the game, I guess, is what I would like. So, consistent, in-depth character development.
And like mentioned before with Tyrande and Malfurion not getting that much, I guess you could call it screen time, it would be awesome if they get some a bit more screen time of what is going on with them as well, especially now with the Night Warrior things.
I would also love, I don't think this will happen, but I would love if this whole, like, Alliance versus Horde, you know, show your faction pride. I would love if they just had different marketing because it's like, oh yeah, like I'm so proud to be part of the Horde. We burned down a tree. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a different, I don't know, fantasy, not just like, oh yeah, we're gonna take a side and be really angry, 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 angry. It's like, man, I do this for fun, not to like be angry all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, then the Horde also has two sides, right? Because if you're not happy with that, then you're kind of siding with Sarfang.
Right, and then you're like, oh, like I'm part of the Horde, like I don't like Sylvanas, I'm not proud, identity crisis. So,
Identity crisis. It's so true, though. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping to see a side of Horde which is not Sylvanas Horde, kind
right.
of like a Sarfang Horde, which is I don't know, I guess a bit more established in a sense, and hopefully it comes to some kind of understanding in the middle somewhere.
Yep. But yeah, that's about it for questions.
All right.
Can I
Well,
pick
in
you up?
that case, I can see that Fell Screens did indeed answer, so he's there to pick up his prize.
Oh,
Congratulations,
great
Fell
talk.
Screens.
You need to stop doing this. Sorry, Fell Screens. He just sits and he just lugs his big body and tilts my camera. Come on, baby. Be a good cat. I don't even know if this is the right angle anymore. He just knocks things around.
It's fine. It's a
Right,
little bit high, but it's okay.
right, but you can't knock things around.
It's like with Perk's camera, even if it's too high, it's fine because she has so many cool things on the upper shelves too. So
I wish I could show.
it's okay.
I need like a cat cam just to show how he's just spread out the sides of the computer below me.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a second camera for Luna in case I need to show her, and I've got like, it's got its own stand in case I need to like change the angle and everything.
Right. That is cool.
That is Luna's camera. It was just an extra camera that I had since way back. It was gifted to me, and I never used it because my camera was fine, and now I have a use for it. So,
Yeah. Well,
do you think Starfang Horde could lead into a third mercenary faction? Oh wow.
I think that they might have, I don't know, restructure things so it's not like Alliance and Horde, but maybe it's like Alliance versus Horde, but then like a life faction or a death faction, or like we're
Do you
Alliance
think
but we
that's
work together
possible?
with
Like a
Horde.
player faction as well?
I'm kind of thinking it, especially with all this like, oh, Larry is now part of the Void, and Tehran's like, oh, I'm not getting any help from the Alliance. I'll just enter into this deal with like the dark forces of Elune. Like that seems almost like they're their own little faction.
That would be really cool. That would be really cool.
And it's like, I don't see Tyrande out here helping with the war. She's just off fighting in Darkshore by herself. So it's almost like she's not really part of that faction conflict.
That's a good point. I didn't really put much thought into it, but it's kind of sad that she feels like she has to do it alone.
Yeah. And there's even dialogue where they're like, why didn't you speak up? And they're like, we wanted to, but we can't afford the troops, and just like the Worgen aren't there as well. And it just doesn't seem. I can kind of see like I don't know, like a weird like void magic faction, or I don't know, all the elves get together and do something, or you have like Sylvanas with all the Forsaken that think the world is horrible and death, like they become a group, but then there's like the honorable, Zappy boy leads a faction type thing.
I feel like a lot of the game is becoming, I guess, complicated for like a new player in terms of so many different races.
Yeah.
Like you pick alliance, and then there's so many races, and then each race has like an allied race under that. It's imagine like factions and then like sub factions. That would make things even more complicated.
Right. And then it's like, then you have the different tints, like, oh, I'm the night warrior for the night elves, or I'm the blood elf with the gold.
Yeah. But yeah, it will be interesting to see more allied races in the future. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some kind of sub factions as well.
Yep. I actually have to run really soon to get to a work meeting. So
that is 100% fine. It is time to wrap up anyhow. We've gone through everything that has gone on in the past week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we're finding out new stuff from the past week that you may not have known beforehand. And we will see you guys again next week. A quick shout out to people who are subscribed on the Wowhead's website using Wowhead Premium. You guys are awesome and supporting. And the same to you guys in the chat who are also subscribed to the channel. And yeah, we will see you guys again next week. Same time, both Perk and I, as always. And a quick high five before we go.
Yep.
3,
All right.
2,
1.
Let's just pretend I was on time since we're in a hurry right now.
Yeah, well, you said 3, 2, and then you
I realized that I should not be counting. You should be counting because you've got the delay.
No.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right.
And yes, shout out to the people who are just hanging around as well and following the channel. That is supporting as well.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone matters.
Yeah.
Okay. See you guys next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.